Hey guys, this is Luke with Pro Co-op Agronomy. We're coming to you from beautiful northeast Montana. Harvest is in full swing. Sounds like there's some pretty beautiful crops out there, and a lot of guys' hard work and investment have been paying off. But now is also the time of year to really be focusing on getting things cleaned up. It's probably more important than ever to be really aggressive on our fall spraying. To me, it's not a question of if fall spraying works. The question is more of how soon do I do it, which chemistries do I use, and do I need to spray twice? What is my goal? What are the target weeds? What is the target problem? And from there we can make up a solid plan, because not everything is going to be the same on every farm or every acre as to what the actual issue is at hand. So as you can see, we're out here on a field edge. Plenty of pressure from Canadian thistle. There's hawksbeard scattered throughout here. There's foxtail barley. There's a little bit of mare's tail out here too. If you go out into the crop itself that was just cut recently, the in-crop chemistry worked really well. However, where do you suppose next year's weed problem, or even this fall, if we get good moisture to germinate, where do you suppose that's going to come from? It's going to be right here. All this stuff is going to seed. So we need to really consider the source, and we really need to consider the species before making a plan, not only for spraying out there, but also in a more targeted, probably a four-wheeler sprayer or some sort of more precision application into these areas. Otherwise, we're never going to get ahead of the curve as far as getting ahead of these invasive species. So with that, we're going to take a couple different shots from different places and some different scenarios to help you decide when, how much, and do I use a residual herbicide? Do I use a burn down? What are we looking at? So we'll go from there. Okay guys, continuing on with first scenario. As I said before, we got to figure out what the problem is and then match that with the timing of the year and the weather and everything to make a decision when to fall spray. So in this scenario, we've got a lot of kochia, pigeon grass, Russian thistle. These are all emerged spring annuals. This was cut early, we're not even September 1st yet. So this would be worth coming out here with, say, like a saddle up, a dicamba 2,4-D, something like that to actually stop all growth right now and manage the moisture issue. Depending on what the rotation is next year, you could put something down that has some residual that'll carry you in through the fall and into next spring. But generally, we're a little on the early side for something like that, no matter what crop you're going to. So in this scenario, I think we want to look at taking care of kochia, Russian thistle, E99, Udison, saddle up, kind of your basic chemistries that have been around for a long time. These are perfectly fine having that in with glyphosate. If this same scenario were probably October 1st and person was going to seed peas or lentils here next year, well then the story might be different. You may want to focus less on foliar burn down, because by that point the damage has already been done. The weeds have gone to seed. We want to have something in a layer so that we get next year's crop off to a good start. And granted, most residual products are better on winter annuals, hawksbeard, mare's tail, that sort of thing. But even in a kochia, Russian thistle scenario, you could be looking at, it depends on if you're equipped with a harrow, you could be looking at sonalan, buckle, treflan, that sort of thing, or even a Spartan Charge. Spartan Charge would be a great product to have down in the fall versus the spring. It gives you the best head start for next year. So it really depends on what time you're looking at. Okay guys, now we've moved on to a harvested pea field, and as you can see, this was harvested probably 2 weeks ago, so there's been plenty of regrowth of some of the weeds that were out here. this is a little different situation here. We've got a lot of prickly lettuce pressure. I know from seeing this field earlier in the year, there was a lot of hawksbeard, a lot of mare's tail, and unfortunately the burn down in the spring wasn't enough to carry through with the right amount of residual for those species. If a person could do this over again, I would have suggested using Panther SC in the fall of 2019, knowing that this was going to be into peas in the spring of 2020. You just get a lot better residual and kill the ones that are going to germinate this fall, plus have some residual going into the spring. So this is a perfect, even though this is going to odds are be durum or wheat next year, just judging by the extreme amount of pressure here, not only of things that are emerged, but then the seed bed is pretty thick. I'd be looking at something like that. You could also look at Culex. You could also look at Combo 22 if you really want to, if your rotations are going to be long ways away from lentils or peas, which in this case it should be. You can use something with a pretty good residual. Combo 22 is got a little bit of ally in it, and generally we stay away from that in this country anymore because of obviously the pulse rotations, but that does bring a whole different level of residual control to a scenario like this that isn't going to be a pulse crop for a long time. So the other thing to think about too is, okay, back to that same question. Do I spray now? Do I spray later? This is a tricky one because we've got all this growth and we've got a seed bed. So chances are what I would recommend in this situation is coming out here with, it's going to be a little more expensive, but being as how, we could probably wait another week or so, come out here with your glyphosate, the right adjuvant. It's going to probably require a lot of AMS and MSO. So it's very important to watch your adjuvants in a burn down scenario. But we could use, say, like a E99 plus Panther or something like that. Another thing to think about with all these things, whether it was this field or the previous two, the rates and adjuvant load really dictate. So just because you say you're going to go fall spray with glyphosate, well, how much? If you have a grass situation, that's going to be a lot different than a situation like this as far as the rates of glyphosate go. So make sure you're staying in touch with your pro co-op agronomist. As you can see, there's a lot of different things to think about. The timing, the moisture situation, going through identifying the source, knowing what your rotation is going to be, and then having a plan in advance is really going to pay off big time on getting ahead of some of these weeds that we all know are there. It's not a question of if fall spraying is good, it's when and how much. So make sure you visit our website. We've got some options on there for calibration of sprayers, of like four-wheeler sprayers and stuff. Talk to your agronomist and make sure we get the right tank mix going for the best success for 2021. Thank you.